right, hello everyone. This is going to be stream slash, I guess, video. We'll see how we go with this. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 trailer just got released for the Xbox Game Showcase, which was published earlier today. We are on June 9th today, and we'd like to go over the trailer. There's been many interesting elements that we'd like to kind of discuss. There's a lot of hidden little details that give us a lot more details about what's going to be in the sim that are not obvious at first. Today I'm not alone. I have Farrell, which is my usual co-host on our ATTS event, and we also have Arrogant Object, which is also a good friend and who flies with us also very regularly on the event.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Wonderful.
Howdy, howdy.
So I guess we'll just go straight forward with just the trailer. This is one you could see in the full quality if you want, or in here. We might add a little bit of commentary on this first one, but then we'll do a second pass where we start going over the details. So that's it. Enjoy.
Okay.
Asobo. The rocks, man. Just the rocks.
Yeah, they're shocking. Shockingly good.
I mean, instantly you can see a difference, can't you, if you've flown over a certain area before.
Yeah, it's the trees and it's just the detail is on another level.
The plane seems to be pretty much the same, but the lighting, the ground details, it's amazing.
The rain looked different as well on the
Oh,
exterior
come on.
shots.
Well, that's great. I'll just
What
switch it
happened?
down to 1080p. Um, all afternoon, as I've been watching the trailer, because I've been doing this for 5 hours, um, YouTube just can't cope.
Jeez.
I've had the same thing. I watched it about, I'm going to be honest, about 10 to 15 times.
Yeah,
That
I've
happens to
watched
me
it.
every single time I scan back.
Yeah.
Watched it quite a few times myself, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of incredible. Okay,
I mean, I think you've got to watch the whole thing from start to end, and then scan back through the details too.
And by the way, there's some visuals that I might be able to spy.
Camera mode. This one is
Yes.
so cute.
Yes.
Oh, I know, I love that. Deer.
That's impressive. The career mode on its own is already great. It's already been announced for a year. We've had a trailer. This, by the way, this is a Top Gun reference. You know, Arrogant and I were talking about the balloons and everything, and they're like, "Hey, we need to do a Hindenburg versus hot air balloon."
Oh God, can you imagine the destruction,
The
the
destruction.
destruction.
So
Yes,
this
for
is your
sure.
first time watching the trailer. It is coming November 19th. So you just got about
Yeah,
9 months to wait. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
So much stuff.
it'll be right around the corner. You'll be shocked to find that it's here already, and
Yeah.
right in time for Black Friday, at least for North American sales
that's
markets.
true. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right after Thanksgiving. It's on that, just what I'm sorry, it's right before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah, it's like it's early enough for the holiday season that you're not
yeah,
swarmed by advertising, but it's also not late enough in the year that, well, I mean, you got your summer spending, then you can accumulate a bit of money, and
you know what's
then,
smart?
you got that for the holidays.
What's smart that they did, I think, is because the demand might really be insane and the downloads might also be really insane. What I think is smart is that they didn't leave it for like Black Friday. They've left it I think it's about a week before, if I'm not
Oh
mistaken, I
yeah.
think.
There's been
And
big
so this,
games where
so
internet traffic has been affected.
Yeah, so this
Yeah,
way, I think the really, really, really dedicated people will have that downloaded in
the
the first
moment.
couple of days, right? So that by the time the Black Friday sales come around,
Yeah,
you
there's not
know,
much strain. I mean,
yeah, it
there's
won't be as much of a strain, so it won't crash it, which would cause them to lose
yeah, and the issue is not the
some
cloud
sales.
itself
So
with Azure. It's more of the middle of the road servers, because there's usually a lot of traffic on Black Friday. So yeah, that's a good point. All right, so the first scene we have is the American West. Again, just the rocks on the ground. You see bushes. You see a lot of grasses. Environmentals. You see some fog in the distance as well, and the lighting is much more blue and orange in the morning, as well as in the afternoon and evening. It's the lighting has been completely upgraded here, and
And
also you
we
you
don't
see the
have a
terrain.
flat line on the horizon as well.
Yes, the horizon
Yes,
line.
I thought I'd bring that up
God,
whilst we're on
Yeah,
this scene. Yeah,
the
yeah.
never-ending horizon line.
yeah, that was an issue with the fog system and the aerosols systems. So that got completely remade. Yeah, and you see there is it's not a flat terrain, definitely. There's all over this spot. Uh, that's the first frame. I mean, these are beautiful. This is perfect for races. I would totally see this as terrain for some of the Red Bull races type events because we saw Red Bull stuff in there. So Reno
I
also is
was I was a
moving.
little surprised to see that, so they must have licensed that.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure they wanted to do both Reno and Red Bull, but there must have been an exclusivity clause for FS20. Maybe they switched that around. But yeah, this is pretty much standard. It's your Red Bull race. Really
There you go.
nice. You do see more of the um, just the fog and the lighting interacting really well together, and that is really impressive. Like, look
This
at
is
that.
nice to see as well because we all felt Red Bull Racers was coming, didn't we? But like
Yeah,
now
we
we kind of
kind of
visual
expected that to be
confirmation.
first.
Yeah, that we thought
Yeah.
might have been in a previous simulator, but here we go.
Yeah, contracts, contracts, contracts.
Yeah.
All right, this is the first big picture. We're seeing United Planes. So we know United is one of the liveries if you're interested. You're going to have United, Spirit, Air New Zealand, and KLM. These are some of the liveries that are either already in the sim right now or the ones that are included in this trailer that you can kind of see from around. Details to look for, the garage in the center. This one is full of cars. The one to the left is empty. There's just the top row. Another interesting element of this is also there's tons of objects. This thing is huge. And so it largely surpasses the amount of objects that we see even in payware sceneries. So there's got to be either huge optimizations that free up a lot of memory, or they found a way to show up more objects with the same amount of memory. Yeah, and some comments here. JFK looks suspiciously like the InnoBuild one, which we know is a huge partner as well. Um, Also interesting are the lighting that we see around that also has an impact with the trees in the distance.
Sorry, my
KLM, honestly, the quality of this is amazing. Well, here's our New Zealand in the background. It is part of the A320 for mini builds. That's the version number 2. So that is already included in the sim currently for free, actually. But there is a New Zealand livery here on top of just the KLM and United. There are also people moving. So for those
yeah, that was
who are
unreal.
think
Boarding.
of GSX, the add-on that adds, passengers. Actually, they released a video 2 days ago on passengers as their feature, as well as all of the ground elements that connect to a plane from catering, luggage, fuel, everything. So I think this is going to cause a big issue either for the GSX because, well, there's a competitor and it's default in the sim.
Yeah, if it's
Again,
well done, it's gonna be a tough one.
look at the amount of things in there, the amount of objects.
Yeah,
So
There's a lot of big asks here, isn't there? You've got obviously liveries for starters. We've just seen a couple. We've seen American KLM passengers coming in. A lot more ground services
Animated
in the visa
people.
things.
Well, here we
Yeah,
see
animated people.
AnyBuild's tablet, or at least what looks like an AnyBuild's tablet. Seems very standard. Microsoft did say that they wanted tablets on all of their default planes, also known EFBs, electronic flight bags. And this may be one of the most criticized shots from the current setup.
Oh,
And this is likely because they're using the replay tool, which does not synchronize everything in the cockpit. But what we're seeing is the plane taking off. And yet, what we are missing here is the cockpit setup. It is not accurate. Your throttles or even your artificial horizon is not moving, or even your speed tape, as you can see as we move, it is not moving. So that's probably just a byproduct. Still not that great that for a trailer they're not animated, or they didn't do a proper recording once of it. But we know that it would be sequence breaking because there's also other planes moving around in the background. Here you can see yellow again. Here, right here, right there, it's yellow. That's the Spirit. Um, yeah, Hammond is also saying there's a difference between the AI planes and the ones flown. We don't know because this is a trailer, right? So we don't know how much multiplayer is in there. Again, we're going to see a trusty TBM, Pilatus, and others. Now, this one is cool. You might not even be able to see it, and it's very quick. This is a hook, which means you take off, and
yeah.
then you have to go grab the banner that you're going to be flying behind.
Yes, we
Uh,
have those all over South Florida. So yes, they're very common. You can actually watch the guy at the local airport pick up those banners with that
yeah,
hook right from the street.
Yeah, that was nice to see the hook. I'm not as eagle-eyed as you, Cookie, but like to see the hook in that like frame. I thought, oh, okay, that's a nice attention to detail. You've got to go pick up that banner and take it up.
which is
Yep.
probably part of the mission goals. Get close to the ground, not too fast. And I don't think there's flaps right now set up. We'll see on the next frame probably. Super Typhon says the Red Bull planes were Edge 540s, by the way. Thanks. And we're going to see a bunch of planes which are not liveries, which are partnered. So we see here Skyrocket Media, for example, that is definitely going to be a partner just by the fact that there's livery in there. Or at least it was licensed. But it does seem part of a possible narrative for the creation of missions. Also, just look how flat it looks behind. That is a bit weird. But sometimes developer PCs are not necessarily the most high end. That's just something to note. They pick it up and it flies. And look at this. Before we get to this frame,
Wow.
the movement
Yeah.
of this is impressive, right? This is soft body simulations. They've been in many games in the past, usually for cloth simulations. But this is this is a folded piece,
Yeah, I was impressed with that. The way it picks
and it
up. That's
flows. So you see
look at that.
that
Yeah,
it goes. Oh, let's move back a little bit and play that again. So you see the whole thing. It flows out. So this is actually following the laws of physics as we know them. It does look a bit weird as it's flat on the ground, but I'm not going to complain with that. Super Typhon says that's in Miami as well. Yeah, that's
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
bingo.
probably that might even be my
And
little local airport. I got news for you. It looks a lot like it.
that's neat.
And the next shot, of course, is I think the ship's coming out of Port Everglades, where the big cruise ships come,
Yeah, that's the
and it's
next.
downtown, yeah, Miami and the causeway and everything. That's the next shot.
You could also get a clue because there's a variety of trees in the background. Some include palm trees. Again, just a little.
Yeah.
And
Looks a little bit
also,
like North Perry Airport if you're looking towards Pembroke Road for anybody that's familiar.
well,
That's
talking
what
about
that looks like to me.
familiar, look at that. You got dandelions in there in the
I
grass.
know that was really a nice
yeah.
touch to make it look a little bit more like
The vegetation
a
a
Yeah,
lot
basic
more
field.
because
real.
Yeah,
it's
it's pretty
just
cool.
Yeah,
you expect it to be there. So when it's there, it looks natural. When it's not there, it doesn't look natural. There's also a couple of rocks down there.
Yeah.
yeah. The vegetation a lot more real, and
Haha.
well, we'll see later seasonal.
This. So now we are
Now
at
this will be
the
good for
Yep,
you guys being
that's
local.
Miami. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
ships, beautiful, but you can see the
Yep.
photogrammetry is not great. You can see here on the left, for example, it looks a bit melted. There's also this weird kind of texture on this building right there. And in
I don't see
general,
trails either. That's something else I noticed, by the way, from the ships.
yeah,
You
that's
don't see the white. trails in
Uh,
that shot, so I wonder if
mm,
Well, what caught my interest is the amount of ships as well in
yes,
this shot.
yeah, so
They're all
that's one
coming
of
down
the
a canal
features.
here. Like we have like better ship AI coming on here. Yeah.
Well,
I
they
think they're gonna
also
have
have
schedules or something.
the fact that they have an AI for the boats, but they also have a live database. So it's supposed to be live. That's the amazing part. So you're gonna have live boats all around the world as part of the default MSFS experience. So the cities are not perfect, but these are not something I'd be worried about because these things can be upgraded. City updates, world updates, those come out all the time, and it's just a process of getting a plane and doing things correctly. So I'm not too worried on that. And again, just that banner just
Yeah,
flowing
the
like
way it
this.
moves.
As a fun joke, there's already been um, some memes with this one, and it's hilarious. Let me post. Open a browser. There we go. When PMDG 777. Just a little fun fact. Yeah, the 777 from PMDG is not out yet, and people have been hyped for far too long
I
about
think
that
we'll just
one.
see a few more of these over the next few days. I think.
Oh yeah, it's a really good. Yeah,
The thing with photogrammetry, though, to note as well, isn't it, is you get a game update and you get city updates. City updates and stuff are live. They are almost independent to 2020 and 2024 in the way of the fact you've only got the data you've got. You can update a game in what we're seeing now, with like new physics stuff like that, new graphs and stuff. But city updates, they come as the data comes in, don't they? So if you see something that's a little bit, oh, that doesn't look so good, that can still be updated.
and almost on the spot
Yeah.
because city updates are literally just unlocking a server side streaming, right? So they could just have the new files on there, and you download something that's less than a megabyte, and they'll basically just unlock access to the server, which includes this new photogrammetry scenery. And sometimes there's a couple of other things because there's tweaks to do on the scenery so that things work properly with the scenery with the new photogrammetry. So that's what the kilobytes are for. Um, Moving on, we have the wonderful mission for VIPs. Um,
I'm thinking Gangnam Style when I see that guy. I don't know why. Forgive me.
well, we have Super Typhon that did the exact same comments.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's an
Oh
elaborate
no.
outfit. Yes, it's
I
an
mean,
elaborate outfit.
it has to be. It has to be.
I literally, that's exactly what I thought of immediately. Oh, that's like the
But
Gangnam Style guy.
cool few things to notice. Number one, there is snow. You could see in the distance right there, and the ground is still gray. So they have usually, the ground is just completely white, or because everything is just satellite imagery and it's just slapped with a snow texture. It does seem to have a more intelligent manner of handling snow textures with airports. This is maybe one of the hubs, so this is probably made with missions in mind. But you can see there's quite a bit of objects and people there. In fact, you're going to see people, groups of two or three, kind of almost looking like they're talking or sometimes arguing, um, are in there. So it's quite interesting. Haman says GSX marshalers now require VIP service. If you have GSX, you'll get the joke. If you park your plane very well, the GSX marshaler will do Gangnam style. Oh, that's cute. Well, we'll see if they do this. I don't know if missions are going to be that in depth or if they're going to have a level of economy to it. But just having a mission like this, you see everything. There's a red carpet, all the pylons and everything. I wonder if it's a set of objects that you can just slap in front of the door of any plane, right? So you could say, I'm going to take a Cessna Citation instead of the G2, and then it would just figure out, okay, well, we know the door is here, and it would be the same marker as if you had a gate, and you have the door, and then the gate comes to the door. It would have probably the same marker, and then you could just slap this in front with the ground, with the carpet and the pylons and the person. So we'll see if something that could be procedurally done or something that has to be programmed manually as a mission pack, if you will. Also, I love the little animations. Nothing unique, but just looking around, and the fact that there's no co-pilot here. I don't know, is there a co-pilot? No, there's no co-pilot. The mountains, again, just incredible.
Yeah, they look amazing.
They look.
Wow.
It does look
Just to comment
strange
as
here
well,
though. There's
if you
some
haven't bought this,
weirdness.
if you haven't bought this jet yet in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, this you're gonna like this jet.
Well, don't buy
Is
it
this
because it's coming up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're
is
gonna
this
like
the
this jet
Honda
when it
jet,
comes.
by the
Don't
way?
buy it. You'll like it.
Say again,
Which
Farhan.
one is this? I always get it mixed up with the
It's the G2.
in between. Yeah, but the I get
It's
it
like the
mixed up between
mini biz jet.
the Honda jet and
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah,
yep.
Constantly,
I do.
constantly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's horrible. They're both amazing though. They're both amazing. All right, this is one that I'm gonna pick a lot.
Oh man.
Uh, this I believe is kind of like a mini scenery slash POI point of interest, which has been modeled. You can see the trees actually look great for these two, right and left, the way they're modeled. You got little fences, which is not hard to do if you have the model. You just can add them on in the scenery. Uh, the heli looks really good though with the truck, and I believe that's just going to be an object that would be spawned anywhere you need to have a mission done. And so that's kind of a smart way. You don't have to create, a whole platform for your helicopter everywhere you go. Super Typhon says Robinson 44. Yes, indeed. That's interesting. But then we get to the real deal. There's a lot to unpack here. It looks
Oh
wonderful.
man. Yeah, it does.
On the right, you see, more fields that look kind of very similar to what we have here. But don't be fooled by that. It seems like the scenery further down doesn't look much like it. In fact, if you look all around, and we'll play again in the video to see behind, it's a very close set of hills that have a farm basically on it, and the rest is just normal. So don't expect every farm in the world to look like this. And you can see here what I mean by the trees. They're basically just like a couple of faces that are put one on top of each other vertically. So it's very similar to the trees we currently have, but just different models, which is great. That grass, the grass, they're
That
doing really
movement
good.
is amazing. Yep.
They're doing really good
That
for
is
that.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just going back for this, um, another element that tells me that this is a POI slash scenery. You can see here, this is just the satellite imagery right here. Um, it
Yeah.
is it
That's
is
an actual.
definitely
Yeah, yeah.
slapped on top, right? So, okay, it's fine. I guess they're going to have a couple farms that are going to be POIs, points of interest that are going to be built around, different countries, and then you could do those missions, and then you could expand upon that as mission packs. I don't think it's procedural in that element, unless Microsoft finds a way to say, okay, well, we're able to figure out from satellite imagery what is a field, what is not, but then you still have to figure out, can someone actually do this? How could we measure the completion rates of the field spraying, and then is it even possible, achievable? So if they do this, I think it has to be kind of pre-programmed. Otherwise, you come into issues kind of like any kind of game where you have to build levels to be able to share them with others. You have to test it yourself first and try it and show it can be completed. And I think that's a platform that would be a little too complicated for Microsoft to build specifically so quickly. So I think this is right now just mostly, program missions that you can do, and if they open this system or not to developers to make their own packs, we'll see what they announce for that.
Handman just said what I was going to say. Like
Yeah,
in
this
the
part.
when you play the video on the way the grass moves, the physics of the grass. This.
Yeah, so this is a
But
ground effect. This is like the wake from the helicopter going down. That's a procedural effect. The movement of the grass has actually become quite a trivial element nowadays in video game design. Um, there's actually tons of tutorial on this on Unreal Engine. Yeah, this is for me. I think this is by default is going to be everywhere and not handcrafted.
yeah, and it's pretty cool as well. It looks really good. The
Yeah,
way the grass.
this because
Yeah.
it makes sense because you see at the very end of the frame, the grass will just freeze up again. It's very hard to tell. You probably won't see it with my video. You'd have to look and look at like a patch on the left before up until the very end. Shakes and then it freezes back.
Oh yeah, you see the physics come into play almost and then go away. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a procedural movement. It's not perfect. It doesn't have like a fall off curve or something, but that's fine. That's part of it. Um, Yeah, then the water. We have a boat that is in dire need of help. One thing I really like about this is the water looks pretty good. Um, we don't see much of the helicopter on the water because they're too high for this. Um, yeah, it doesn't look natural for the grass, eh? Yeah, I agree with you. It looks interesting, but I feel like this is something that could be kind of put everywhere. We don't really see any plane or helicopter touchdown. So we have no idea the water physics nor the visual elements apart from what we currently know from FS20. So that's a bit of a bummer. We'll have another plane with floats coming up, but it's again not in the water. So if you may recognize this, this is Los Angeles, and it has new photogrammetry. So that's great. Some buildings looks way sharper. You still have the suburbs kind of very similar to what they are, but I think it's better for performance. They must have had
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it might be
a
for
cleaner element.
performance reasons that not everything is up to,
Yeah,
you know.
but the Sky Crane, so, such a beautiful helicopter. And then the famous A400M. Nothing
I
to
can't
say
wait.
about this, apart
Can't
from
wait to try that sky crane though. That'll be good fun. Now you've taught me how to fly a helicopter. I've got to go.
we
I've
had
got
a
to
lot
try
of
them
fun
all.
with that. Yeah. Look at the shores, though. The shores is
Yes, I
something that
was.
was very difficult to do in FS20. There was a GDK Game Developer Conference, GDC, sorry, conference, where we had a developer from Asobo speak about the terrain and the way they've done the world in FS20. And part of the difficulties was the issue of water creeping up the shore. And so it seems like they've managed to redefine even better the difference between what's water and what's land. And that's very difficult to do, mostly for rocks and for sand, beaches, and things that are on a very flat slope rather than a direct vertical difference between, there's a wall here and then there's water. So you see all the little rocks here, all these details. That is something that'd be a lot harder to see in FS20, but it also
Yeah.
means they need another system to handle shallow waters, and I don't see much about shallow waters here. Likely also due to the water, the reflections. But it does look like you're still in high seas here, despite being very next to the shore.
That's a good observation, though, isn't it? Because that would deform uh, quite badly in the original, in
Yeah,
2020
I'd be
anyway.
interested to see if they get my beloved breakers back to see if they do anything with those. They add a nice effect. And they might also help mask a little bit of the awkwardness of
Oh yeah,
the between the land and the very edge of the sea. So it is one way that it could help sort of hide
it
that.
should fix a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
Buzz Duster is asking about how many of these aircrafts will we have or be, freeware. All of these will be in the sim. They will be part of the package that you buy with FS24. So you don't have to pay additionally. We don't know the structure yet, if it's going to have like a standard premium deluxe kind of structure, but all of these planes will be in the sim as part of the package. This is mostly just the trees and the variety. I think I don't know if this is handmade or not, but the variety of tree here really shows. Uh,
Yeah. There are
it's
quite a
amazing.
few different kind of palms. Yep.
But the sizing and the colors are also very important. Because if you see everything to be that same tree color,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
uniform
ugh.
canopy of it all. It's
So yeah, you can kind of
the height and
hide
the
that by having many various types of trees without having a tiling effect too much. So you can kind of see it down there. There is that tiling. Also, you can see this is basically just satellite imagery. This is why there's the weird water or snow. This is basically just part of it.
Oh, you know what I thought that was? I thought it was after a rainstorm and it was showing that it had a puddling effect. That's what I took that to be.
That's what I thought. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was they're showing you that it had just rained there and then those because obviously it wouldn't be snow.
Yeah.
It's in a tropical location. So I thought, oh, maybe there was a thunderstorm and it's showing
Like
Well,
some
how
there's
the
there's
water
been
the water might collect in
there's
puddles.
been
So I thought that's
instances of of snow, but yeah, and here I don't. You're right. I think it's water. I think it's just part of the satellite imagery, and it just happened to be there.
oh,
Because grass and water is difficult to show, right?
Let's
Um,
see.
and in this case, you could see it's bumpy right there, and you see it enacted here as well. So there's some interesting elements of suspensions.
You look
And
closely, that there are a lot of variations of trees in there, by the way. I'm amazed by the trees.
well,
I'm
there's things which are
a little
not
bit
trees as well, right?
yeah.
So
Fences,
that's
yeah,
look at the details
there's
on
a
these
lot of
plants.
nuanced, yeah, like the coconut palm, and those are fan palms right there that you're pointing at.
Yeah,
And the other one on the other side, because I see these where I live, and I'm like,
and this is
and the
detailed
funny thing is, I
because you're
looked
zoomed
at it
in, right,
and
on
I
this
took
plane.
it for yeah, I took it for granted a little bit. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that because I can look outside and right now and see the ones that are on the left are out in the courtyard. So to me, it's something I see every single day. So it's not air quotes special, but then I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
that's now in the sim. And then I started looking closer and I'm like, those coconut palms, that's
just
different. The curvature of the,
different
yeah.
types of
So
trees creates an
a
irregular
whole different,
line.
yeah,
Yeah,
So we're gonna
helps
get
you
like
to,
localization with like the trees and stuff like that. Hopefully, like we're not going to expect to see a palm tree spawn in Norway and stuff like that. We're going to get better localization
yeah,
because all these different species that you just didn't have before, which is
yeah,
neat. Makes it more
yeah.
real. Yeah.
It's going to help sort of give you the immersion because if you're familiar at all with it,
and then just the grass
then
colors as well,
yeah.
variations around it.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to detract from
No,
the
no, it's good.
beautiful aircraft, but yeah, seeing those.
It is a
No,
beautiful aircraft.
it's
Yeah,
worth a
Uh,
mention, but it is. Yeah.
yeah, Super Typhon says, it's like the air tractor AT 802 in Fireboss form. The A400 is massive, but super powerful in its cargo possibilities. Yeah.
looks pretty huge.
Look at the clouds. Look at the water. It's a cloud
Oh,
because in the sim, the type of object is a cloud, but it's
yeah,
very difficult
yeah,
to
the effect
to
is
model
quite
this.
good.
And the
Yeah,
fact that you have trees behind like this really, if I were to cut this and say, let's do a clipping. If I were to do this and just show you this clip right there and tell you I took this picture uh, last morning. It was very early in the morning. There was fog on the ground. You would believe me. This would
Yep.
look like a normal picture. That's what I love to see.
yeah,
And then again, that motion is very difficult. Usually, the way that I guess what they tried to do is usually you have projectiles of water that come forward and then kind of fall, and as it falls, the area behind also expands. So the water expands, which you also see, where you're supposed to see some of those little spikes of water falling forward. And they tried to do that. You could see they tried in their own way. And that looks 3D as well, which is really good. Beautiful. Now, this one's interesting. Um,
my
this
favorite
one
shot.
is unique because, first of all,
It's
cliffs
El
and mountains.
Capitan, so that's El Capitan right there.
Yeah,
So that is a very famous rock
beautiful.
face. Yep.
You could see they tried to put some elements here. First of all, you have, even on the ground, you also have different types of plants, of ferns in this case. Rocks, they're very limited to this area here. I think I don't know if this is a rock or two here, but I don't see anything on the other side down there as well. So that's kind of strange. It feels like this is almost like a POI with like maybe a grass strip right here, which seems like the type of bush strip elements we'd have. A river, then a little strip. Um, then yeah, you see there's a slope on the left, and that's very interesting with the trees. We don't see dead trees or anything like that, but it seems like the kind of detail they could eventually add based on slopes. The right side doesn't look that great. You see it's a little weird with like the trees here, which are not very color accurate, but that's also because of the sidelight imagery, which was darkened in this case by the sun, and so it makes it difficult to source the right color for the tree based on the ground. Also, clouds. We'll talk a little more about
Beautiful
clouds.
shot though. It certainly is
Yeah, many
a
things to
beautiful
talk
shot.
about here. Camera mode,
Oh,
beautiful.
mud.
Mud, yeah,
The
which
mud.
is
Mud on the
more
tires,
on the
camera.
right there. Mud there, and I don't know if they used God Gravel's methods for this or if they made their own. And then obviously all the flowers and all of that. The dirt on the wheels is a little strange in the center portion because it is a lower quality texture. I don't know if that's something they plan to improve or maybe just scale more. And then this beauty. Whoops, there we go. Look at that. So it has the flash, it has the sound. This is where you get to see not only an animal, and they talked a lot about migration and all that stuff. We haven't seen birds yet, but you get to see the density and how the woods are not straight. You know, the trees. First
Yeah.
of all, they have bark, which is pretty impressive. Who would think to say that?
Yeah, you wouldn't
But yeah,
think.
they're not straight, and that's because of the variety. They're able to kind of have different models that don't necessarily interfere with each other. And that's just beautiful. I think with the music, this element is simply gorgeous. I'll just play it with the music because it's beautiful. And yeah, you even had a little capture sound. So it does feel like because we have this camera mode, we have an external out of the plane uh, mode, kind of like we currently have drone mode, but drone mode is more, you fly like an actual drone. This is more like a person mode where you can get outside of your plane. And I guess you could turn on camera mode in there. I don't know if there's a mode outside where you can walk around your plane without camera mode. But I feel like you would need to have an outside method to inspect your plane because at the very beginning, we have planes, which have,
Yep.
remove before flight tags or engine covers. And
And
so
there's
you
a
need to do
captain
your walk
walking off
around.
the plane. Yeah, they give
Yeah.
that vibe.
And
You can,
because the sim also will have all default planes will have electronic flight tablets or just tablets in general, you could also toggle it through these methods. So that's why I think that this view right here kind of shows, hey, you're on the ground. A plane is kind of tall. Maybe this is lower than actual. Maybe you're sitting down on the ground in terms of height. And then you'd be able to walk around, click on the elements to remove the tags and everything, and also have a camera mode where you can enjoy, you know, this with animals. Haha. Hot air balloons, Paris. This is photogrammetry. I don't think it has been updated. Two things to note here. You could see the photogrammetry right there, by the way. It's not exactly that great. Very melty. Um, Look at the clouds right there. The fog really
Yeah.
connects well in terms of color with the sun. So that's really one element. And the second one, you can see it here already, but also here on the left-hand side, the bridges. You see that there's still this element of water and something on top or something moving in front of it. You're going to have this kind of white outline around it. So you can kind of see it just above here, below.
Yeah.
That stuff is not gone, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's
Yeah.
also with the reflections and the lighting, it's a tricky thing to do. So uh,
I'm
I'll
sure they'll be working on it.
look
We've
at
had so
there,
many
you could see
updates to
it.
2020. I'm sure they'll be
Yeah.
polishing all this as the year progresses and
Well, it
goes
also
into the
means
new
the
year.
shadow could be modified, but currently it does seem like screen space reflections. You look at the left side here, you can see there's this little, uh, it's hard to describe it. It's kind of like something that sticks to, uh, like the shadow shows up after, you know? Clouds, cloud types, These are higher altitude, almost irises like, and they also have different colors based on height, which is great. I think we already have that. But it's hard to see dark clouds, and I think they've done a really good balance of lighting here
Yeah, to give you that effect of
and trees.
sunset. Yeah, it's quite nice.
more to layers rather than just, yeah, you'd have one type of cloud all the way up.
Also, look at the plane. The rotors are
Interesting.
pointing up. Look, boom.
Oh, it's
Now
like
they're
an
pointing
osprey.
forward.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, I was spotted. I
So
didn't notice
we're gonna have a
that.
VTOL. Yeah, that's neat. For me, it feels like the volocopter, but like whatever next version they came up with.
Yeah, that was what I spotted. I thought it was a
Yeah, there's so
volocopter.
many things I
Yeah.
didn't notice the first few times I've watched it that
Well, talking about this, the hot or the Skyship 600, as it says on it,
yeah.
the engines are not running. You could see they're just static, which is not a problem for these types
Nope.
of balloons. Yeah, not much to say about this apart from sorry, two things: the sky with the clouds, the different layering, and what you could almost perceive as some sky with stars. I'm not sure if that is it, but also look
This is
at
a good
the.
sky image.
I
Yeah.
know, right? Look at the ground. See the lighting? You see the
Yep.
buildings with the lights on it? You see, this looks like cars, or at least street lights. You know, a little. It looks like the lighting is connected to the buildings a lot more this time, and to the streets properly, rather than floating balls of light. You know, and the balls of
Yeah, and
lights
hopefully
floating
the
just above.
windows won't all be so generically square and crisp. There's a strange effect to the
That's an
to
FSX
yeah,
method.
it was a
It's
an
like you
odd
just
kind of.
for night, you would just have a square of yellow that would be emitting light. That would be your window at night.
But the window shapes were so peculiar, so they were so sharply gridded as if it was as if you used a grid paper. It just didn't look natural,
Yeah,
even in 2020. So I'm
because it was the
hoping
same
that
texture basically. Yeah,
yeah, it was a kind of strange sort of absolute square windows that you don't often see in real life. So it was a bit of
yeah.
a throw off. So I'm hoping that this night lighting will
But I think
give
night
us
lighting will be definitely improved. So, sorry to the people that bought all the night lighting add-ons.
oh the 7500 yeah.
But even the buildings look pretty good. I know from far it's hard to determine any of that stuff. Usually, the moment you get up close, you're like, oh, that didn't look as good. Uh, but you can just see the buildings. You know, I don't know if every light is on.
And the
Maybe.
coloring, the temperature of the lights is quite nice. There's a mix between more like a mercury orangey light, and then you've got the bright whites, and then in the distance there's almost a pinkish sort of.
Yeah.
So it. Oh, and this looks very familiar to
I know.
me.
Twin
The
otter.
Yep.
twin croc. Twin
Yep.
crocs.
Twin crocs. Yeah.
Twin
So you have
Crocs.
the two crocs
Yep.
here. If you didn't notice those, which are not moving. But Farrell, you told me this looks familiar.
I think maybe they're trying to do something in the Everglades. I think that tree has got an odd
Like
similarity
swamp,
to trees. I mean,
swamp
the
trees.
grass there isn't sawgrass, and normally that's what we have in the Everglades, but it also could be the the bayou in Louisiana. I didn't think of that until just now. But those trees, I'm thinking those trees are meant to be
It's got
like
Everglade vibes. I think
almost
I've
like
been
banyan
there.
trees,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not quite.
Yeah.
But I
The
think it's one or the other, and then the plane, of course, is what's interesting in this shot
very.
because it,
They
yeah,
removed it from the
it's a little
marketplace.
revealing. Yes.
It was an Aerosoft product which they removed from the marketplace. I think what 6 months ago, 8 months ago now.
Yeah.
And then it was, set to be for another project. So for us, it was like, yeah, okay, it's we know what it's for. I just hope that it's at a standard that's slightly above the just, Aerosoft as it was before. As Super Typhon says, yeah, the sounds better be improved, and I hope so. I do love the light passing through the trees as well. That's pretty
Yep.
nice, and you get the
Beautiful.
depth both with the clouds and everything, so it gives you that perspective. And the crocs again are static. Just gotta say, look at this mountain.
That looks unbelievable. When I was in British Columbia, this shot reminds me of a shot that I took at a great distance on a cruise ship, and it was the first shot where the mountains looked like they might have snow on the top of them. And I remember that it just looked this looks so much. If I could find that picture now, I would show you it. It has more detail, I will say that, because I was at a great distance. But the
Yeah,
way these trees
the
look, the
LOD
perspectives of the
could be an
mountains, the
issue for
gradients
mountains.
of the mountains, the way they're coming down, the shadowing effect as they're more distant, it's
Big deal.
absolutely spot on. It's just wow. I was like,
Yeah,
boy, this is something else.
That is a stunning shot.
three things in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, look at this ledge here. That looks really good for a rock. There's no trees on it. It could feel
Yes.
like, it's naturally there. On the opposite side, this one looks horrible because it's probably not a rock. It's probably, they're not sure what it is. So it doesn't have as much of that sharp texture, so it feels less natural. In comparison, you look at the mountain up there, which I was pointing to earlier. This looks horrible. So I don't know what they is. They probably don't have data for this. Maybe there was a cloud, and so it was automatically fixed, but that broke the detection for trees. And it looks like there's triangles, so this is probably either an artifact of photogrammetry or just really bad data taken in that spot.
When this game comes out, we're going to go straight Papua New Guinea, and we can
We will.
No. I'm
we'll
thinking
make
this
that
is
decision on
somewhere.
how it looks. Yeah,
Sharp.
I don't know why I'm thinking this is like Ireland, Scotland, something. What do you think, Arrogant?
it does. It looks like
It's got that
yes, it
feel
does look
to it,
like
doesn't
Scotland,
it?
doesn't it? Yeah, it's got that vibe,
Like a
almost like
North Sea kind of feel to it.
The
As soon as I
water's
saw it, I'm
not
thinking,
very wavy. You don't see, it's very calm actually
I
for
hope they give
weather.
us a chance to manipulate the waves
Yeah,
without having to have ridiculous gusts and winds that, really distort your flight, because sometimes you can have waves on the water and you're not being buffeted like 30 and 40-mile-an-hour gusts just to see a few
that's because they
whitecaps.
need to separate them from the
Yes, they
ground
need to
level to the
split
flight
them. Yeah.
level. Because
Yes,
if
that's
yes, yeah,
that's
I
what
hope
needs
they
to
do that.
happen.
yeah. Moving on, we have a little reference. This is Top Gun. This is a Top Gun
Yeah.
reference with the movie Maverick. A perfect reference of what they did in the movie. So if you've watched the movie, you'll understand. And it's good to see again the F-18 and a famous other one right behind.
I'm
Oh,
guilty. I still
the
haven't seen
A2.
the movie. Don't shoot me.
Oh, I won't.
I have it. I just haven't had a chance
um,
to watch it.
not much
But anyway,
here. The rest are more generic scenery for many of them. Dead tree. Good to see. We usually don't see
Mm,
dead trees.
yeah,
Sounds stupid,
just the mere fact that
but
it looks like a convincing forest shot is good
yeah.
enough for me,
The
because I like
issue is they have
flying in
motion
those kind of
blur,
places. So.
so all of these kind of look blurry when you stop at a frame. But three helicopters, maybe there are races, because you see again another setting, but the same helicopters, which are not exactly helicopters. They look more like kind of racing pods. Here are cacti. Tons of cactus. I is the plural, but there is a lot of cactus right here in its many forms. So I find that really cute, honestly. And I do wonder if there's a way we could do something with this, like a challenge where you just have to cut, like imagine there's 3D physics simulations to this. Yeah, autogyros. Thanks for the name, Super Typhon. So yeah, it'd be so cool if we were able to hit a cactus and kind of chop off a portion of it. You could do cool challenges, assuming it could be connected like synchronized through multiplayer. Just the possibilities could be so fun, right?
Yep, agreed.
So just amazing stuff. Grass. There you go.
The leaves, you can even see. Oh, well, this one gives something away that is quite nice.
and that's the
Seasons.
thing.
Seasons.
Yes,
I mean, that was announced, right? But again, you
Yeah.
see the cliff right there. The different colors is, I think, the most jarring of them all, and the placement. You see, there's more down there, and the more you look at it, there is a lake down there. Let's do that. Thanks, Handman, for the tip on doing this. There's a lake, but you
awesome.
see down there. Look on the other side. It's also colored down there. Also, I don't know what that is, but that could be something. But again, looks like a race where the goal is for you to dive down in this area and then turn around and left. There just needs to be guides, like 3D markers in the sky kind of floating, be like, oh, fly through here, you know. So that looks
Like how we
beautiful.
jumped around the world and we see different type of vegetation, different seasons,
Yeah.
different. The vegetation
This is
is.
beautiful. Look how
And
vibrant
now here we are.
those
We're in
colors
what
are.
looks
They're
like
just
potentially
amazing.
Africa or something. Look at the trees again; they're different.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah,
savannas of Africa.
The trees are very important. The lighting on this is wonderful. You see you
Yeah,
see
it's
all the
beautiful.
stars. It's getting night. It's difficult for trailers to show the night,
Or
right?
dawn, because a lot of times when you are
Dawn or
taking
dusk.
those
Yeah.
balloon rides, yeah, you're doing the
It's easier
dawn,
for the differential in temperature. Yeah.
but it looks just the vibrancy.
Look
That's
at the
just a beautiful
lighting.
shot.
That's
Yeah,
really the most
look
important
at the
thing.
flame.
You
Yep, the
can
lighting is
see
just
not the
brilliant.
lighting for the flame, for the whole balloon, because this is
Yeah,
fabric.
that's
It's
I mean
not see-through,
it's fantastic.
but it's very close, and we're going to see in the next shot. You know, it's very cute. They do have a bit of internal glow, though
Yeah.
it could look like bleed off from the sky down there, which also looks like a picture in a way. And this is where you see the different types of clouds in the sim. You see more cirrus, higher altitude clouds, and then these are more, what we're used to. So that's. Oh yeah, there you go. Super Typhon also commenting on this, and
Yeah,
the
there is
giraffes,
serious clouds.
which
Yeah,
are not moving. Actually, yeah, they're just doing their head turn. Lighting is back.
lightning.
Lightning.
I remember
Yes.
that.
Went from everywhere
Boom
to
boom.
nowhere, and let's see what it does now, right?
Edgeley Optica. This one is interesting. Maybe it's the one from Got Friends or the Orbex one. I hope it's a little faster than 80 knots, but I doubt. Though there's some interesting elements to it down here. I don't know if that's part of the design or if it's a different version. And then I think this is the last shot that makes it the best shot.
Take your catnip.
Oh
Fell across.
gosh.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about this frame, but not for the reason you might think. Look at the bottom left. This is where you start seeing cities and roads that don't just have white lights or yellow lights really, but there's a mix of white, yellow, and red lights.
Yep, that's why I said the earlier the temperature, they call them temperatures, and it's just the temperature of the lighting is
Yeah, but this is not the
brilliant
temperature,
because
right? Because temperature is more the
I thought the
general
temperature
lighting.
changed the because if you have like a 6500, it's a very
Yeah,
bright white light,
yeah.
but if you have like a 5000, it's a yellowish,
hmm
more natural light, and it just seemed to
I
be
mean,
that
I'm
they
just
had.
talking more about the red lights here, how it looks more like a car, you know?
That's some eagle-eyed
The
riding.
tail
Oh, okay,
That
lights.
yeah.
was. I was impressed with this.
It looks
How
more
you
like
picked that
tail
up?
lights or some other kind of traffic related thing. I remember flying in the evening at night actually over Montreal. The city's all white, but then you have all the highways that are either white on one side, red on the other side, or flipped around based on where you are. And so you usually see a lot more red in those cities. I might still have pictures around. I don't know. Um,
Well, there were
so
red lights everywhere too. Remember?
yeah, big difference.
All the corners were
And these are
red street
details.
lights.
They're weird. You don't know it, but it feels weird when you don't see it. But you don't know what is it.
Yeah,
You don't
but
know
you can't
what it
quite
is.
tell what's wrong. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that does happen
and then
sometimes.
you could just once you have it, you're like, oh, it makes sense. They're supposed to be in there, and just the mixture of auroras and the sky, the lighting. Obviously, they don't want it to be fully dark because it's harder for a trailer to show this. But it's just and it's moving. It's animated. That's the best
Quite
part.
a, quite a strong reflection in the water there that doesn't kind of line up with
Ooh.
the lighting.
Yeah, I think this is still the sun being hidden by some clouds behind,
Ah, okay, yeah, so it's coming through
and
almost. Which would be
well,
a shame because that happens in
it
the
is,
past.
but it's too
Yeah,
much. You can also see the sun
yeah,
on the
yeah.
dashboard. So yeah,
Oh yes, yeah.
it would be interesting to see reflections of the auroras in the water, but it's understandable that it's harder to compute. So it would be also a reason why not you. Yeah. As for the mountains, they're quite standard in this area. I think it's pretty high quality already for what it is. It's hard to do better. And that's it. That's Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're gonna have the release date on November 19th. And there's some other great dates to think of. We have Flight Sim Expo that's coming up on June 21st to 23rd. Microsoft is going to have one big talk. I believe that's going to be on the Friday. It's currently not posted on their schedule, but last time they also waited till the very last minute to add it to the schedule, though it was almost certainly already planned. They just didn't want to show it, specifically since we didn't know about it uh, until June 9th of 2023 when the trailer showed up at Xbox Showcase, kind of like this time. So yeah, they're gonna have a talk about that as well as a marketplace talk. They're still trying to. They're not sure on this one yet, but that would be on the Saturday or Sunday, so 22nd, 23rd. And then there's going to be Gamescom, which is another thing to look for. That's going to be end of August. That's in Cologne, Germany, but there's usually some interesting things from Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's kind of like the last checkpoint before you're supposed to know everything and all the details are cleared up, and now you have a clear expectation of what the product is going to be. So I think at this point, it's going to get less blurry as we move along. So these are the two dates that are pretty important, and I'm very excited to see what comes forward. I think there's
Yes.
very little in features shown yet. It's
Yeah, I wonder
mostly
when the feature discoveries are going to start, if they're going to do that again like they did.
or a beta. We'll see
Well,
what comes
yeah.
up for these. Yeah, but
I
yeah,
wonder when that's
it's
going to
Frosty.
start, you figure.
just to remember, right? This is the visual showcase because it's an Xbox showcase. So the goal is to sell it to people who are casual audience or people who are not exactly, into aviation, who prefer to have fun. Like look at the clouds, look at the rocks, look at the terrain, how sharp everything is. That's the main goal, is to show this element. So we'll see what comes out of that. Um, but it's clearly right now targeting the audience that likes to see something beautiful, and we do too, honestly.
Well, there's that, and there's the guys that aren't as geeky as us. That like, I've got friends that go, "All right, I've flown over my house and it looks awesome. Um, now what do I do?"
Exactly.
You
They,
got
they
to
they
think.
need to know what to do,
Yes,
and I think it's
Yeah,
yeah,
important that they know what to do.
and
and there's a big
passenger
emphasis on
simulation, a career simulation is going to do a long way.
how to explore the world. Yeah, give
Yep.
Yeah,
people a reason to,
give a
like just said there,
purpose.
pursue your dreams in aviation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And plus, it might, believe it or not, even though I think they'd be less likely to admit it, I think there's going to be a few old salts out there that have been flying for 20 and 30 years, and maybe they're like, God, sometimes you just sit down, you fire up the sim, and you don't really know where to go or what to do. I
Mm.
wonder if they wouldn't secretly try some of these career modes just to have something else to do after
and
Well, you're
sort
talking
of
to
this
me.
career
repeating this.
mode is
Yes,
not.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
whole thing is also
100%.
meant to follow realistic elements of what's
Yeah,
actually happening in the real world. It is not a gamified element. It's literally what people do every day.
yeah.
It's their job.
It's
It's to do this
some of the
stuff.
careers that, yeah, the career that you have in aviation. So
Yeah,
it's a smart tie-in. I had said in the original, I said I hope that Microsoft will figure out a way to approach a few flight schools, maybe try to get into a partnership and inspire or do a few scholarships or something to, make it affordable for very young people to get them into aviation. And I think it would be a good look for Microsoft. It'd be great for Flight Simulator, and it would do a service to the public. And I'm hoping to see that maybe if the career modes take off, they'll kind of have the idea to sort of get into the education part, not necessarily in the sim, as if to have, which would be neat, but to increase and improve the training portions and activities of the sim, but to just sort of
to be able
try
to
to
help.
introduce this FS24 into the educational area and do a grant or something. They've got the money, and it's great publicity for the sim,
For
and
everyone.
it wouldn't hurt Microsoft to have a few good headlines showing the
Partners.
altruism
Yeah.
instead of just profits and margins and things like that.
I mean,
I
they,
think it
they
would help.
have done some things, right? But it's not like they've done a partnership with Orbis, the eye
Yes,
uh,
yes, something like that.
hospital.
Yep,
Uh, they've
something like that.
done they've done the Antonov 225. If you
Yep.
purchase the plane, all the proceeds go back to Antonov to help with the plane. And
But
recently
I
they
mean,
did one with
what I mean is in keeping with the career mode. I don't mean the
yeah, to
charitable
be
aspect.
more with
What
them.
I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
is to tie the career mode to the education. They go together perfectly, and they would also be doing a service because we're having a pilot shortage. So in that aspect, they could actually sneak into the educational portion, do a little bit of charity in that area, and link the career mode with the educational charity with the new sim for Microsoft. I think that's the
Well,
blend of.
I wanted to say about that. Like, we've got a 2.5 minute trailer, and you got like it says, "Pursue your career in aviation. The
Yes,
sky is the limit."
Actually, the
The
sky is
sky's
not the
sorry, the
limit.
sky's not the limit. The
right.
sky's the limit. The sky's not the limit. Pursue
Go
your career
beyond.
in aviation. Yeah, go
I think
beyond.
it'd
So
be a
I think the
great
message is
way to,
there.
yeah, to
Hmm.
Just a short
segue
trailer. Yeah.
into it. And
And to encourage
as
people to
things
join
improve and become,
aviation.
yeah,
Yeah.
as systems become more in depth and we get closer and closer to what I call the Holy Grail, which is a sim that you can recognize the world that you fly in aircraft that can go from the most basic features for somebody who just wants to casually tour the world, see pretty stuff, do a few fun things, but yet in that same aircraft through options be able to bring that level up so that they can get closer to a study level if that's what their intention is for those people that sim that way, or for students that want to use the simulator in some fashion to assist in their future career or studies. that really is cool. And I think Working Title is a perfect example of how they've gone from the initial default levels to what work that Working Title has done to bring the overall level of the default craft up a notch. And I think that's a great thing.
And it brings more knowledge
Yeah.
onto their
Yep.
GPS units, G1000, 3000,
Yep.
530, and so forth. Really
Yep.
important.
And it inches you closer to that, perfect beauty and deep systems that can be customized so that, let's say somebody's not familiar, they can't just jump into a plane with these study level everything. So you make them
To get
basically
some
option their way
familiarity
up. Yeah, you have the
without
ability
being
to
real
option your
training
way
as
up.
well, because
That would
you need
be,
to be on certified flight sim, certified hardware to even get this to
well,
count.
yeah,
But it's familiarity.
but
Yeah.
just to get the familiarity up and be able to scale it from, oh, I've never done a flight simulator before, and a year later, maybe you've enabled some of the intermediate features of that aircraft, and in another 6 months to a year, you're at the study level, and it would be wonderful if one
Like a progression.
aircraft could be that adaptable to
Mm.
the. Plus, it would also expand the user base because then it would attract more serious simmers, future
Well, you
students,
would build
ex-pilots. Yeah, you
future
would build
simmers from a current casual audience. You would convert them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, would convert them. So I think the potential is
I think that's
there
always
to
the
take
vibe you get
advantage
from
of
Jorg
that.
as well, isn't it? Jorg, the head of
Yep.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. He is like, I think that's why you see the messages you see in this trailer. Sort of like it's to if you can get like 1 in 100 to like be captivized. Like I was like that, when the older flight simulators. I started in Microsoft Flight Simulator '95, and I was mesmerized by it, and I just got this massive interest in aviation. And if you can get one person who's gone to be a pilot because they enjoyed that, I think that's the message.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
Microsoft
did it
Flight
because I
Simulator
wanted to see the
has.
world. I wanted to see the world, and I thought at that time
It
I
was
was
very
never going to
different.
get to do that. I thought, wow, nobody in my little town that I grew up in, nobody went to these exotic places that I dreamed of going. And the flight simulator, as much imagination as you had to use to pretend that you were actually in these places, it was a bit of an escape from the old industrial town that I was from. And it's like, wow, I can, with my imagination and a little help from Flight Simulator, I can imagine I'm in Paris. So I can pretend I'm in London, and that's what I was doing way back when. And now to see this, it's like,
It's a tool.
yeah,
Mm.
and it's much less a struggle to imagine, isn't it?
And it
Yeah.
also brings a lot of
It's
awareness to different platforms. I talked about the element with the banner, with the company name, but the same as for every other company. They have their livery here. Same as for the rescue. They have their own branding up here, so it does
yeah,
advertise them in their own way. Um,
yeah, sure, it does.
one last element before we conclude is also how I was first thinking of this. We had the first trailer a year ago, which showed very similar elements, mostly career and the world, and we usually had two shots. And I still am wondering, and it's very possible that these are again, just cutscenes where when you finish the mission, you land and then you click done, or it automatically understands that when you put the parking brake on, it ends, and then you get a cutscene that looks like this, but the opposite side, because right now they're trying to bring in a pilot, but if you were landing and you had someone in, it would do the opposite. So I feel like this is something where they're making these things. It's custom. Obviously, these are custom animations. I don't think there's anything procedural, but they could just spawn these at predetermined airports, and therefore can expand in the future with DLC or even maybe open access to third parties. And I think that would be interesting. I would love to see what third parties can do, and if they can also open it to SimConnect, which is the method to communicate with it, the API between the sim and external software. It would also help current software that does careers, like On Air, Neofly, and the bunch, and be able to use their existing economies with the current sim. We don't know if the current uh, mission has any kind of economy to it. We just see the task, air ambulance in this case here. We don't know if it has anything connected to it, or if it's just, do the task and you're done. You have a badge, you have a, thumbs up, or maybe, we don't know how you take into account the number of missions you've done, and what comes out of it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to gamify, in air quotes, the progression of it. Maybe you unlock things, or maybe everything's unlocked already, and then you just have to progress through some missions to get access to the more difficult ones, or everything is completely available from the beginning. Kind of how are you going to track that progression? And there is a potential opportunity for third-party devs to also
Oh yeah, be
connect.
great API, wouldn't it, for third-party devs, like you said, like NeoFly and stuff like that. To what they've really wanted to try and like do in the 2020 to like bring that into 2024, and it's like they've got this action and stuff and more's happening.
Yeah, very much
Yeah,
so. So I think it's an exciting moment to be a flight simmer. It's even better than ever.
Sure.
And through all the crowds that are going to be enjoying this flight sim, we got an exciting product ahead of us. With that said, we're going to conclude it for today. If you guys liked what we're doing, we're streaming this on Twitch, Flying Cookie 6508. I believe I'm going to post this on YouTube. I have a channel, but I've never posted anything on it. And I think it's the best case for people to be able to see our opinions on it. So I'll thank Farrell, which is my co-host usually on our weekly streams. Thank you,
Very
Farrell.
welcome. Very
And
welcome.
one of our guests, which is usually also with us on our fly-ins, that's Arrogant Object.
Yay.
thank you for putting up with me.
With that said, thank you
It's been good
guys.
fun.
It's been awesome. Thank you to everyone on the Twitch side that's been watching, and we hope to see you guys soon for our weekly flights. Bye, guys.
Bye.